Welcome to the Alphagenix podcast, where every week we talk about biohacking, well-being, longevity, and of course, men's health. And I'm delighted today to introduce our guest, Adam Mayhew from the A-Game. Adam, please introduce yourself.
Yeah, thanks very much. It's great to be here. Thanks for having me. Obviously my name's Adam from A-Game Consultancy, and I'm a registered nutritional therapist and performance nutritionist. A-Game is all about being on your A-game. So I co-founded A-Game with my business partner, who's also called Adam. There's two Adams. He's a NLP mindset coach, and as I say, I'm myself a nutritionist. And yeah, we work with individuals who want to improve performance, basically, and become the best version of themselves, whether that's in a corporate setting or a one-to-one. Yeah.
Fantastic. Yeah, we talk about that Alphagenix as well, about being the best version of yourselves. Optimal lifestyle choices, optimal diet, optimal exercise, optimal nutrition. And it sounds like you're doing the same thing from perhaps a slightly different perspective. And you've got quite a story as well, haven't you? And quite an affiliation, or for want of a better word, with alcohol, with the pros and cons.
Yeah, I do. Yeah. It's well, to be honest, that's where it all started. So, because I've just introduced myself as a nutritionist, but yeah, I've not always been a nutritionist. So, I'd say I'm for nearly 5 years alcohol free. So in in April, it'll be 5 years alcohol free. And I was the burnt out executive. That's who I was. My background is corporate IT, sort of working for software companies, worked up to sort of support manager and then operations manager. Quite high stress, sort of on the rat race, so we say, chasing something that I wasn't too sure what I was chasing. I'd say I worked hard, but I played hard as well. It was in the office working hard, and then in the pub or the bars afterwards. So I'd say I wouldn't really sort of drink during the week. Maybe like a Thursday or Friday, go for a drink with colleagues. But when the weekend came, I was full binge drinking, and that was mostly throughout my 20s and early 30s. I'm 37 now, and as I say, I'm nearly 5 years alcohol free. So, that's where it all changed. But the actual decision to go alcohol free was I always remember I was sort of sat there. It was a Sunday morning, and I'd been out the night before. I hadn't had a lot of drinks, but I was just riddled with anxiety, worrying about the KPIs I had to meet at work, and worrying about finances and bits and pieces, and I wasn't present. And that's when I thought I'm gonna take a little break from alcohol. But prior to that, I started to explore sort of like health, and started to listen to like podcasts, and I learned a little bit about meditation, and I started to meditate and things like that. So, and then it was actually through the meditation that I became aware that this sort of behavior that I've got, this habit that I've got with drinking, and going on the piss with the lads, shall we say, because that's pretty much was no longer serving me. And I just thought, I'm going to take a break. I'm not going to label it as anything. I'm not going to say I'm stopping. I'm just going to take a break. And in that break, I did 5 weeks without any alcohol, and I felt amazing, absolutely amazing. And then it was my stag do. And then I went on my stag do, and I got very drunk. And it was after the end of my stag do, I rang my future wife, or now my wife, and said, "That's it. I'm done with this." She's like, "What do you mean you're done with?" So I'm just done with this way of living, this sort of laddish behavior, this going out, getting drunk. It's not serving me, and I've done 5 weeks without it. and I felt the best I've ever felt in years, just in those 5 weeks. And this binge drinking session that I've done this weekend on my stag do has just confirmed that I don't want to be doing this anymore, and this is not who I want to be. And then that was it. I've not drank a drop since.
Amazing. I've got like a million questions from all that. Firstly, congratulations, I guess. Like 5 years is a long time. A lot of people try and do dry January and they get 5 days in and then capitulate, and you're 5 years down the line. So it'd be great to hear some of the strategies and things you employed to help with that. But you said a few times it was the best you'd felt with those 5 weeks off. How did it make you feel? What were the benefits?
Yeah, so I think the immediate benefit was the impact on sleep. So those that don't know, alcohol, just one drink can destroy your sleep. So that had a major impact. And then it was more because, like I said, I might have a couple of drinks on like a Thursday and a Friday, but then Friday and Saturday would be quite heavy. So as the sort of weeks went on, I realized that I had this time. I always had the time there, but I wasn't in bed. I wasn't hungover. I sort of all of a sudden I was getting up earlier for work, but then getting up, on a Saturday. I used to, a Saturday or Sunday, I used to sort of roll out of bed at like midday, 1 o'clock in the afternoon, still hungover, and then, had to order. This is going way back. I really have to think back. It's been a long time, but I'd like order sort of takeaways and do a fry up and that sort of stuff. I just, to be honest, just felt like shit. And then we just watched Netflix all day, and that completely changed. All of a sudden I had this sort of time back, and to go, oh, I'm up on a Sunday morning. It's 7 o'clock, and what the hell do I do? I feel great and I feel good. And then what started to happen was I became very curious. I started to explore my curiosity in all areas of health. And I kind of went from the burnt out executive, the burnt out, IT operations manager to an athlete. So I started training. I really got into training. I started running. I joined running clubs. And I also joined like obstacle course racing. I don't know if you've heard of that. Spartan, did a lot of Spartan races. And then I started exploring it further and further. That led me to marathons, and then that still wasn't enough. So I ended up going to ultra marathons. I've literally done sort of the couch to 5K to the couch to 80K is how far I've gone with it. Yeah. So I've done
drinking completely changed your life.
Well, yeah, it did. Yeah, it did.
And is this so the A-Game then you're now involved with? This is helping people get from where you were to their A-Game. So do you encourage people to stop drinking?
It's one of the pillars. Yeah. So we don't force it on to any of our clients. We would recommend it. But generally what happens is the majority of clients that come into A-Game, they will, because we're sort of talking about the benefits, they'll get curious and then they'll go, okay, let's give it a go. And when you look at the success of clients, I'd say, because they've all got different goals, it could be the personal development goals, it could be weight loss, it could be, to build muscle, it could be to, to reduce down their anxiety, it could be to become the person they want to be. So it just depends what their goal is. But those that stop drinking or take a break from alcohol, when my business partner and I have looked at it, the ones that have done that have reached their goals a lot faster. And though we shouldn't really compare clients, but yeah, they've reached their goals a lot faster. The ones that took a break from alcohol, 100%.
Yeah. I guess
things clicked into place. we have a thing, we have the penny dropped. I have a penny here, and I sometimes record it and I send it to clients. And I refer to that as the click. So I'm doing that because this relates back to my own story of, I refer to it as the click. And it's when you've probably experienced this, it's when you have mastered sobriety. And in my own experience and working with clients, it usually happens between 60 and 90 days. But what's really important in those 16 to 90 days or on that break of alcohol is you have to force yourself and go do all the things that you used to do when you drank, go experience them sober. But you've mastered how to unwind without the drink, and you've mastered how to dance completely sober, go out with the lads, whatever, go to a restaurant, take comments from people, and you can stand there and go, it all comes down to confidence. And it's kind of like this, it's not about being better than anyone else, but you just see it and you see, oh, this is how it's been affecting me and other people this whole time. And it's like this, I get it. Yeah. And then when you've hit that, you think, I'm never going to pick up the drink again, because this way of living is so much better than what I was doing before.
Yeah. So, penny drop moment.
Yeah, I had this, and I sometimes send recordings to clients of me dropping the penny. We've got it. That's it. We're there.
I totally get it, because for me, I've not drank since 2021, and
amazing.
But prior to that, so this is the 4th time I've had a period of abstinence, and this time I doubt I'll ever go back. But back in 2021, I was reflecting on the past few years, how our businesses have developed. And I had stopped 3 times before, once for 3 months, one for 6 months, one for 9 months.
Okay.
And each time I'd gone back to drinking. And the reason I stopped was I'd stopped for a period of time in order to help me get ready for a particular mountain I was climbing, like a physical one, a real one, not metaphorical. And then once I'd conquered that particular trip, that mountain, I went back to drinking. But my sort of epiphany moment, or my penny drop moment, was when back in 2021, I was reflecting on the past few years, and I realized not only had I conquered that particular mountain, but my life was better during that period of time. The 3 months was better. I was a better husband. I was a better father. I was a better businessman. I had more clarity. I was making quicker, better decisions. And the moment for me was when I thought, why did I ever go back? Like, what, looking back now, it was so clear to see that everything was better during those periods of abstinence. So the moment was, well, why did I ever start again? And as I say, now I'm, sort of 2021 to 2023, I'm sort of 18 months in. And now, I wonder whether I ever will drink again. I guess the only time in that entire duration I've actually thought, oh, I'd quite like a drink, was Christmas Day. And my father-in-law and me enjoy drinking port on Christmas Day, or we always used to. And he was looking at me like, shall we have a little port with our cheese? And that was the only time when the only time when I thought, actually, I quite like that. He's getting older as well, and we have a great relationship, and he's not going to stop, or I highly suspect that he won't. And that was the only time, where I thought, oh, that would be quite nice. But other than that, I get what you mean. You think more clearly. And whether your clients are wanting to build muscle, reduce anxiety, improve personal development, it's easier with a clearer head.
Exactly. That's it. 100%. And those you streamed off all the benefits there, and they're all the ones I know I spoke about, sleep and things, but more focus, more energy, more mental clarity. So when you've got more mental clarity, you can decide who you want to become. And that's what happened to me. It was I got clarity in my mind, and then I realized what was serving me and what wasn't serving me. I became aware. So before, the drink was just clouding my awareness. It was, well, I know what happens when it goes through the body, but it was obviously playing around with my dopamine levels, and what goes up must come down. I didn't understand that, and now I understand it, but and this is for people that drink, this is majority, I'd say, people that drink, they are drinking to de-stress, but it's the wrong way around. That's adding to the stress. Yeah. It as you know, when you take that drink, let's say if you're really stressed, whatever, from work and business, family, etc., and you get home and you have that first drink, what goes on in your body, yes, it will help alleviate the stress a little bit, but in the long run, it's actually making it worse. It's enhancing it. And I didn't understand that at the time. So yeah, this is why when people do stop drinking and take a break, their stress reduces, become more calm, able to handle situations better, like you said, and become a better father, become a better husband or wife or whatever, So I refer to going alcohol free as the single most transformational change you will ever make in your life.
That's powerful. That's
what I don't care if you drink 5 a week, 10 a week, or you're just having just 2 drinks a week. When you stop pouring that drug inside you, incredible things happen. But you will never understand until you stop. You have to stop, and you have to go to, like I say, you get to the sort of 60 to 90 days, or for some people it might be a bit longer, 6 months of no booze, and just see what happens with your life. And most people won't go back.
That's powerful. You mentioned dopamine there. You mentioned, what goes on inside, but I guess lots of people watching aren't nutritional therapists. So do you want to go into a bit of detail on what happens when we take a drink and why is it a powerful thing?
Yeah. So when we look at alcohol, it's ethanol is what we're referring to. So it's ethanol. And when I looked into all this, I was like, so where does it come from? It's rotten fruit and veg. It's basically what it is. It's rotten vegetables. But when we look at ethanol, in terms of like positives on the body, of course, it can, in the olden days, we used to get rid of infection. We still do today. We, put it on our skin. We can, get rid of infections and things like that. But when we drink it, when ethanol goes into the body, obviously it goes through down the esophagus, into our stomach. Most of the sort of impact happens when it's in your bloodstream. But when it goes, for example, when it goes to your liver, the liver it's probably like one of the sort of organs in the body that we don't really talk about a lot. But it's actually an amazing piece of kit, what happens. And the liver's got over 500 functions. It is ridiculous. We know that if alcohol's going through your system, and if you don't take regular breaks from alcohol, it's never going to perform at 100%. So, but when alcohol goes through your liver kind of goes, ooh, what's this? Oh, it's a toxic, because that's what it is. Alcohol is toxic to the human body. And it would kind of go, oh, what's this? Okay, I'm going to have to deal with the calories from this alcohol, and I'm going to slow down some of the other processes in the liver because I have to prioritize this substance, and I've got to get rid of it because it's toxic. So your body's just constantly trying to get rid of it, trying to get rid of the toxic. But yeah, when it's in your bloodstream, obviously the effects of it happens up here in your brain. So it artificially stimulates dopamine. So dopamine is part of your, excitatory. We know how to get dopamine hits. Certain foods and sex and Netflix binges, phones, likes. These are all dopamine hits. But what the alcohol does is it artificially stimulates dopamine. It's not a natural dopamine hit. That's the thing. It's the drug doing that. It artificially stimulates. So that goes up. So that's when we feel good. But then it also drops GABA and glutamate. So these are other neurotransmitters. These are to do with your inhibitory sort of transmitters. And this is why you sort of, start taking your clothes off and saying things and, doing daft things, and because you drop those inhibitions, basically. So yeah, that's a little short sort of summary of what sort of happens inside your body. Of when you take it. don't know how further you want to go. Don't want to bore your listeners, but
no, that was great and really interesting from a men's health point of view that you covered, or you mentioned the liver there, because the liver metabolizes a lot of hormones, as you know, including and in particular estrogen when we're thinking about men's health. So if you're drinking, you're therefore not metabolizing estrogen in the correct way. And if estrogen is too high or too low, you'll have symptoms exactly the same as low testosterone. So you will have low energy. You may find your erections aren't as strong. Your mood will be affected. That then bleeds over into the fact that you're then not sleeping very well. Again, you mentioned that's an effect of alcohol and sleeping. We create testosterone in our testes. So reducing your alcohol intake certainly has a big bonus or benefit on men in particular. Not solely, of course, but when we talk about what we talk about from an Alphagenix point of view, it's quite fascinating to see that link as you're talking about it now.
Yeah, and it's 100% correct, and I can relate to that. Like, going back sort of 5 years ago, maybe a bit longer, I had problems, with sort of sexual health, problems maintaining erection and things like that. I had those problems, but I had no idea that it wasn't just the alcohol. It was the way I was living. It was the alcohol, the poor diet, and it wasn't always a poor diet, but the high saturated fat going in, not enough fiber going in, the right nutrients go in to support testosterone, to support blood flow, and then obviously it's a knock-on effect. So like you said, you don't sleep well. It's all knock-on effect. So, we at A-Game, we come from the stand of health feeds performance. That's how you reach performance levels, whether you're an athlete or we sometimes refer to it as the corporate athlete, whether you're, an entrepreneur or business owner, or, you want to improve performance, your health is going to feed that. So when we look at health, so what's in health? We've got the 4 pillars of health. We've got your movement, your exercise, we've got your nutrition that goes in, we've got your sleep, and then we've got like your mind and sort of rest, like meditation and gratitude and things like that. There's actually a 5th pillar, which is like the social side, your social side of it all. And it's about getting the right balance across all those pillars, and then you'll reach performance levels.
Yeah, I love that. Have you come across the blue zones?
Yeah.
So
there, it talks about it. Yeah,
it's quite fascinating, isn't it? And they have that community, that social side of it is very much integrated. And I think for anyone who hasn't come across it, who's listening, there are 5 blue zones in the world, and they're these small areas where people tend to live to over 100, or certainly longer than anyone else in the world. But they eat a fresh Mediterranean-esque sort of diet. They don't necessarily abstain from alcohol, but they do have this very community-driven approach to life. The Japanese call it ikigai.
It's just a very calm. It's very calm, isn't it? Sort of way of living. So they don't sort of always engage in TV and phone. And the Japanese, it's Okinawa, isn't it? Okinawa, is that how I sound it right? Yeah. So they it's a very calm, peaceful place to live. They're mostly sort of vegetarian, type, but like you said, they might have a bit of fish as well, so a bit of Mediterranean type. They also drink like it's a white tea, isn't it? What I read.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's like a white tea, and there's this plant, and I can't remember what it's called, that goes in the white tea. They drink that.
Fascinating.
Yeah.
So why do you think we have such a problem with alcohol? It's so easy, isn't it? I've had a bad day, I'll have a drink. I've had a good day, I'll have a drink. But where has this come from? Like, because it's not everywhere. It's not, as we've said, in Okinawa. They drink white tea. Why do we have this in the Western world?
It's in our culture, isn't it? We're born and raised with it, and I think it goes way back. Let's go way back to medieval times. They were drinking alcohol because it was safer than drinking water, because the water was contaminated. And obviously when they made the alcohol, that got rid of the, bacteria, and they drank that. So it's just, that's how far it goes back. It goes back, centuries. But just because we've always done it doesn't make it right. And I think in the modern day, where we are today, I use this analogy. I use this with clients, is the way that you fall into the alcohol sort of matrix mindset. So it happens at a young age. So depending on the environment you were born into, at home, obviously, as when we're young, when we're babies, and we turn into a toddler, we're learning stuff, we're clocking everything in our environment, we're picking up sounds, we're learning things. So I think it starts then.
Mm-hmm.
And the language that your parents or guardians are using, like, oh, well, let's have a drink, and let's drink this, let's get the wine open. You didn't know what that was, but you were clocking it. You're clocking it in your mind. You're absorbing it in. And then I think what happens to a lot of us is, at a young age, we will take a sip, whether that's our parents going, oh, have a bit of this. I know, for example, my dad used to put whiskey on my teeth when I had, because it would numb the pain when I was teething.
Yeah.
That's when I first had alcohol. So, but that's the way that he was raised, because that's what he was told to just have a bit of whiskey on there, and then that'll numb the pain. But I think, when we're toddlers and we get a bit older, we see our parents, guardians, aunties, uncles, people in our environment drinking this substance which you are told you're not allowed to drink until you reach a certain age. You have your orange juice, you have your water, whatever, your milk, but you can have a little sip, but now when you're older, you can have the rest. And then you sort of get to teenage years, and I don't know, maybe you played around then, you were nicking bottles out of your parents' drawer cupboard and things like that, or you were asking older people to go to the shop and get you a bottle of WKD. But most of the time, I think when we first try alcohol, whether that's at a young age or in teenage years, we spit it out. We don't like it. We go, that's disgusting. But in our minds, what's happened is, for years up to this point, you've been clocking in your mind people enjoying this drink in your environment. So you have this belief that you have to engage in this and enjoy it in order to fit in with the rest of your family, your friends, and that's how it starts. And eventually you take another sip, and then you try again, and you try again, and eventually you acquire a taste for it. But it goes way beyond the taste buds. It's the psychological effects. You like what it does to your brain. You like the drug, and then that's how you fall into the drink, into the society of drinking.
Drinking culture. It is really fascinating, because
that's my view on it. Anyway, that's how I understand it. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I've as we talked about before, stopped a couple of times before, and I guess for relatively short periods of time, 3, 6, 9 months. But my first drink after that, I distinctly remember going, that's awful. Like, I was drinking whatever it was, red wine, white wine, beer, but thinking, why did I do that? But then you have another sip, and then another sip, and then before you know it, you're back to it. And my wife calls me all in Ross. Like, it doesn't matter whether I'm, going to climb a mountain, or drinking or not drinking, or whatever it is, I kind of do it to the best of my ability. So I wouldn't just have one glass of wine, I'd finish the bottle. So for me, I find it quite easy not to drink.
Okay.
Because I'm all in. What do you say to your clients who perhaps maybe have a similar sort of personality, and they try to do that, I'm only going to drink on a Saturday, but then they drink on the Sunday as well? Do you have any sort of strategies and things to help people?
Yeah, it kind of falls into that Simon Sinek, the why work. So why we decided to do it in the first place. Obviously, you're curious about taking this break from alcohol. So I always sort of remind them to go back to the why, basically. But what is it more like strategies like, so if they say, oh, I'm going to do like a week and then drink, is that what you mean? Or if they do like a month and then they pick up the drink again?
Yeah, exactly. Once someone's sort of committed, do you teach them any strategies so they stay fully committed to it?
Yeah. So it's well, we have a course. It's called the 30-day alcohol reset challenge. So when the client would come in, we would, if they're interested in taking a break from alcohol, we just enroll them into that course. And basically, it's just a 30-day like video course where it's mostly me talking like this, talking head, and giving strategies within that. And it's actually more around sort of health and wellness, health and well-being, with alcohol that weaves through the middle of it all. But there's strategies in there in terms of like, preparing for your first night out without a drink, how to meet the guys, how to tell them you're not drinking, how to be prepared for when people go, what are you on about, mate? Why not drinking? Go on, you can have one. How are you going to respond to that? So we sort of teach like strategies around that. But I think if a client said they wanted to drink, we've had this before. They'll say that they've got an event coming up, they've done 30 days, and they're thinking about drinking. It'd just be a series of questions. Okay, so what's making you want to drink? And it depends what comes out of that. Yeah, I wouldn't ever force them, tell them not to drink. It's their choice. I'll just ask them more questions and just remind them, how did you feel in the last 30 days? Do you have a need? Is there an urge to pick up the drink? What is that? What is it? Are you concerned about this event you're going to and you're worried about what people think? Is it that? Is it so? And then we'll just ask questions. Sort of, it just depends. Yeah, around that, and then we could help them on that. Yeah,
I guess
some clients do it. They want to do it, and I think a lot of people do this. They'll take a break from alcohol, and then they want to answer that question: what if I just want to have one more night? And then, many of our clients have done that. They'll go out, whether that's just have a few drinks or they'll have a full-on massive session, and then the next day they'll message us and go, yeah, I was much happier before and I don't want to do that again. It's like, right, great. Great. It's confirmed. It's confirmed that you don't want to do it again, which is fine. Yeah.
It's interesting, isn't it, when you are sober and you do go out, and you mentioned it there, and even now, what I'm thinking of one of my friends in particular, and he'll always say, well, do you just want a short? Well, no, that's still alcohol, actually. I'm drinking beer, but you've said you're not drinking, but you could have like a whiskey or something. Well, no, that's still alcohol. What, a wine and soda? Wine and soda, maybe, but that's still alcohol.
Yeah.
Well, what about shandy? No, actually, I'm totally fine. Thanks very much. You go through the evening, and I think the latest I've stayed out with my friends when they've been drinking. I was in Ibiza last year, actually. I stayed out till about 4 in the morning, and people were telling me the same story for like the third time.
Yeah.
Well, now it's probably time to go to bed.
Yeah.
That's it. Of course, I was then up early the next day and doing everything that I would normally do, and everyone got in a little bit later than me, of course, and then stayed in bed longer. And you have time to meditate, go for a walk, do all these other things that are good for our health as well. But it's quite eye-opening, isn't it, when you go out sober?
It is. Yeah, it is very eye-opening, and that strategy you do, that we sort of teach that one as well. It's you can go out, and of course it all comes down to confidence, and just on that confidence as well. It's depending on people are sort of extroverts, introverts. The weird thing is, if people were using alcohol as a social crutch to help them in social situations, you never really build those social skills. But when you remove that drink and you go into those social situations and go to Ibiza and go to the bars, that's where the confidence builds. That's how you build it, because confidence is a skill, and every other skill that you've learned, you did it sober. So why are you not doing this one sober?
Yeah.
And that's personally what happened to me. I was using it as a crutch. I'm a recovering people pleaser. That's what sort of, so my sort of background is a lot of people pleasing, and I leaned on the alcohol to help me have fun, but I realized that when I went alcohol free, I needed to rebuild those social skills. I hadn't really properly built them.
Yeah.
So, and it worked. But like you say, you're having a good night and you think, yeah. I'm on my third alcohol-free beer here, and having a great time. This is good. And then all of a sudden, it's getting sort of 10 o'clock now, 10:30, and you've repeated yourself 3 times. You've disappeared off over there. I don't know where you've gone. And we're having the same conversation again. Right. I'm going to go.
Yeah.
Time to go. Yeah.
That is really interesting, because I was the same. So I spent most of my 20s wanting everybody to like me. And a lot of that was about going out, having fun, usually involved drinking too much. And then, looking back, I can see that was really born out of my own insecurities. And now, looking back on that, I can see that. But at the time, I didn't. I just thought, I was going out having a good time, and that's what the 20s were for. But it's the benefit of hindsight. You can look back and see that. And I guess it's easy for us to talk about that, but for a lot of people, facing up to the fact that they might not be as good as they think at being a people person, and leaning on alcohol as a social crutch, as you say, it's easy for us to say, well, don't do it, just get better at it. But that's a big thing, isn't it? So again, how do you help people with that? Where do you even begin if someone says, I need this to help me go out?
That's a great question. Yeah. I think it's then putting the coaching hat on and going, it's about your attachment to it. So what is your attachment to so I'm holding up this, it's water, but what's your attachment to the alcohol? What is it that you think you need it to help you to have fun? And then we'll start unpacking that a little bit. And I'm probably going to go with this, because it's with everyone, and especially men and women, that it all comes down to fear. Everything we do is coming down to fear. And of all the clients I've helped with this, whether it's in nutrition, taking a break from alcohol, on the retreats that we do, it's fear of not feeling good enough. That's it. It's an insecurity, like you said. They don't feel good enough. And it's something that's distilled in them at a very young age, when they're 6-7 years old, and they've got this belief that they're not good enough. And that's why, and they've been carrying it all this time. And if you don't do that, as you know, if you don't do the inner work, and they'll keep carrying it with them.
Yeah, until they do.
Sorry, that's quite deep there, but that's it. That's how it is.
I love that. And you mentioned Simon Sinek's work, and how powerful your why is, and you've talked about consultancy and coaching and things. And I think for anyone, if they do want to sort of go deeper on it, one of the most powerful things I was ever taught or shown was to keep asking why, and ask yourself why at least 3 times. Why do you want to stop drinking? To feel better. Why do you want to feel better?
Yeah.
Because I don't like wasting time on a weekend. Why do you not want to waste time on a weekend? Because I want to spend more time with my family. Why do you want to spend more time with your family? Because I didn't spend time with mine when I was younger. And you get deeper and deeper and deeper, and you get something powerful.
Yeah.
And it helps you in the times when you might relapse, I guess.
Yeah. That's it. But yeah, I mean, I don't know, where would you start? Similar sort of thing?
Yeah, I think it is. It comes down to that why, doesn't it? It doesn't matter what your goal is, you have to have a powerful reason to get out of bed in the morning and do what you're doing, whether it's a fitness goal, whether it's stopping alcohol, whether it's growing your business, whatever it might be. Being the best version of yourself requires something powerful to underpin it, I guess.
Yeah, 100%, definitely. Yeah, because it doesn't. For me, it doesn't have a place. It doesn't have a role. Alcohol doesn't have a role in health. That's it. Yeah. So
if they invented it today, it wouldn't get out, would it?
Yeah, and the World Health Organization say they state that there's no safe limits to drinking alcohol.
Yeah.
But they don't like that on the bottle, unfortunately.
Yeah, exactly. You said a few things today. You know, one of them was, you know, we use ethanol to clean wounds, basically to kill things. And in medieval times, they drank alcohol because it was safer than water, because it killed stuff like bacteria. So, you know, no matter how we look at it, it kills things, you know, and we put it in our bodies, and I think it's a positive thing. So that's, when you think about it like that, it's quite incredible, really. But I mean, why? We're too far down the line, aren't we? It's not like it's ever going to be withdrawn from the shops. There's too much money to be made from it, to be honest. It comes
I
out
think that there is this movement happening, and it's been going on for a while, and it's really sort of excelled over the last sort of few years. You know, you've seen it with all the alcohol-free beers. You know, it's been going on for like the last 10 years, but in the last 5 years, it really has gone. And people are deciding to not necessarily go teetotal, but take breaks from alcohol, whether that's a 2-week break, a 3-week break. And there's a report that I read not so long ago, and I can't remember which one it is, but it was from the alcohol industry, and it was finding what was driving the alcohol-free beers, and it wasn't the teetotalers. It's actually the mid-lane drinkers that are reducing down, that haven't fully gone alcohol-free. They're actually picking up the alcohol, you know, like a 0% Heineken, for example.
Okay.
And they may have one on a night out, and then they'll have an alcoholic drink. Yeah. So they are reducing down. So anyway, that's one report that I read. So
it's got to be a good thing, hasn't it? Because
we
are the most technologically advanced, you know, as a species we've ever been. We're supposedly the cleverest we've ever been, and yet we're the unhealthiest we've ever been as a people. Anything we can do to help using alcohol, you know, learning from powerful things such as, you know, from people such as yourselves, whether it's optimizing your hormones with people like ourselves. I think all of these things can only help to improve where we are as a people, I guess.
Yeah, that's it.
If you had to sum up everything we've talked about and everything you've learned over the years, if there was one really powerful piece of advice you could give to everybody listening, what would it be?
What, as in like relating to sort of health, or just
health in general? Yeah, let's not even necessarily say just about alcohol, but, you know, everything you teach at the A-Game. If you had to sum it up or distill it down, what one thing would you say?
That's a great question, that. Who are you becoming? Yeah.
Who do you want to be? Yeah. And how do you get there?
And your stories, your past does not define your future. If you change the story, you can change the outcome. That's it. Yeah.
I like that. There's a few quotes out there that are similar to that.
They're probably a bit of a mix of. I read a lot of quotes, so there's probably a bit of a mix going on there. Probably mashed a few together.
Yeah, made your own. In 100 years, people will be quoting your quote.
Yeah, well, who knows? Might have a little name at the bottom.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, well, thank you very much for today. I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Yeah, it's been amazing.
How do people get in touch with you? Is it on email, LinkedIn?
Yeah, so we're on LinkedIn. So I'm just on there as Adam Mayhew. It'll say Adam Mayhew at A-Game. And also on Instagram, I'm on there as just Adam Mayhew Coaching on Instagram. So we also have a website, which is just agameconsultancy.com. But we're going through a sort of a bit of a rebrand, so there will be a new website soon. But yeah, that's where people can reach out.
Brilliant, Adam. Well, I've thoroughly enjoyed our conversation. Thank you very much for your time. And have a great
chatting with you. Thanks, Ross. Thank you.